I'd like to call the July Land and Facilities meeting to order. We'll start off with a roll call.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Tina Babin.
Here.
Ms. Valerie Bourgeois.
Here.
Mr. Henry Lafont. Here. You have a quorum.
Item number 2. Grove Flores and Positary. Mr. Andy is going to give us a report on Thibodaux Middle School.
Good evening, everyone. My report tonight's very short. They dug the pond on the west side. Now, I don't know if y'all noticed, but it started raining. So it's kind of hampering the finishing of the pond. I'm not asking for any rain days tonight. Right now, the contract time is currently running through mid-September, I believe. And so we still think we'll finish on time, weather permitting, of course. But there's a pond that's 90% dug. They just have to do finish grading. The little practice football field area's got dirt stacked. It's just got to get smoothed out. And there's a ditch, of course, on the east side that's dug, but again, waiting to get final graded. So kind of where we are, short and sweet. Yeah.
Any questions? Any discussion?
Thank you.
Number 3, Dawson Holloway Cortez. Now, item A is to receive a report from Justin Cortez on the St. Charles Elementary School classroom addition. Cortez.
Good evening. So St. Charles Elementary classroom addition. We have last month I reported the contractor had mobilized and started gutting building number 1, the admin area where the new restrooms are going to be located. Currently, they're framed. All the walls have been framed, and the holes have been cut for the chairlift that's going to go from first floor to second floor. Also, the contractor has received authorization from EHP and FEMA to commence ground disturbing activities. So as of last week, they had the pile driving rig on site. They drove all the test pile that we want to monitor for the next 2 weeks. And once we get those test results back, if they're favorable, we'll move forward with driving all the pile on the site. So that should be starting hopefully in the next 2 weeks before school starts. And that is currently where we are right now. I can take any questions.
I just want to say it was a nice groundbreaking ceremony. It's going to be a nice addition for the school.
Thank you very much. Item B is to consider a change order request for repairs for the St. Charles Elementary School classroom addition. Your motion. Motion by Mr. Henry, second by Ms. Bourgeois.
The recommended action is to accept the change order request in the sum of $43,481.62 for exterior work at St. Charles Elementary classroom addition. I'll let Justin speak to the breakdown.
You said 43,000 was a 4,003.
43,481.62 is what we have.
He's got them all added up, Justin.
Oh,
So all of the St. Charles change orders on one item.
Yeah.
So if you could just speak to each.
Yes. Yes.
One of them is the windows in the old admin office where the principal was before, right? That's going to become a bathroom. There's a set of windows there, right? Not super historic, but just some windows that were added, and the plans called to add a wall in front of it, right? Which would have led, like, a window being inside of a wall, right? So we looked at a change order, get the windows taken out and get siding put over it.
Correct. And in that change order, also the painting contractor, the subcontractor, while cleaning the building and scraping off the old paint on building number 1, found, I think, 120 linear feet of existing lap siding that was rotted. So we're going to be changing that out too as well before they start, repainting that building. So that plus the windows, I believe, is around $4,000 or so. The contractor on that one. Another item that was included in that, we had a few items that were VE'd out of the project in that first change order we proposed a couple months back that need to be added back. Just for one of them has to do with some electrical equipment for a generator to be hooked up to the building. We thought it was in the best interest of the school to have that, so we proposed adding that back. Then another item is in order for the contractor to meet their critical path, they had to add back in some culverts and grates that were beat out to a less, I don't want to say a lesser, but a different material. In order to meet their contract time, they had to order those so that way they could start installing those actually pretty soon too before students are back on site for that. That change order was an add of $7,050, and we also have Energy met with the contractor to talk about the electrical right of way, power lines that are going through the property line of the site. There are existing trees that are in the way, unfortunately. So we got a quote from the contractor to remove those trees and then trim back the neighbor's trees that are kind of in the way of that as well.
That's Miss Pat Botwell, the neighbor on the south side.
Yeah.
She agreed with the right of way and everything else. The utilities kind of come down the middle of that driveway over that basketball field. We're going to move everything over to the property line. So going forward, we have a clean lot.
That was an add of $2,788.50 for those items. And then I think the big chunk of that change order request was for the pile driving that may have to happen if they aren't able to finish before school starts. So if they're not able to finish before school starts, well, I'll back up a quick second. EHP, we received the go-ahead from them for them to do ground disturbing activities last week. Sorry. This is the Environmental Historic Protection Agency, their department in FEMA. And before, so if you're going to use federal dollars on a project in FEMA, they require that review to take place by that department for any project. We've been doing them for all these other jobs we've done for the hurricane repair projects. They had to do a review of the site to make sure that there's no historic property, any artifacts or anything like that on site. That review takes months to happen. Bob and All South actually are the ones that kind of lead that up and follow up with those guys. They submitted, there was some delay from FEMA in getting that completed. They finally got approval, I believe, on July the 9th. Is when we got written verification from them that we could do ground disturbing activities so they could dig or whatnot. Because up until that point, the contractor had only been demolishing buildings, doing any kind of work above soil at that point. So once we had that authorization from EHP, the contractor was cut loose to go, but that did cause a delay because they were planning on driving piles at the beginning of summer. So they've had a month and a half where they couldn't do anything. And because of that, they'll have to do, it's possible that they may have to do some of it during the school year. And that would be very disturbing for the kids if they're sitting out there. We're very close to those buildings. So they gave some rates for overtime hours working from 4 to 8 in the evening. And then on weekends, on Saturdays and Sundays. They gave some additional cost for driving those piles, per pile cost, the superintendent overtime cost, and a standby day rate in case they get delayed for school activities or anything like that. I reviewed this with our structural engineer.
Bob could speak to this maybe on the FEMA's presentation side, right? But it does look like FEMA would cover this added expense because of the delay. This is a very high price, right? Of overtime and everything else, right? But it's strictly because of the delay we had from FEMA being able to start. So,
thank you, John. That helps clear it up a
no,
little bit.
we definitely want to pursue it,
Yeah.
for sure, without a doubt, and push FEMA as hard as we can to cover this.
Well, we don't know for sure if FEMA's going to cover.
You never know.
And it's a reimbursement, Mr. Henry. We have to fund it up front.
I understand it.
Like Mother may not get the money back.
And it may not happen. This is only if it has to happen.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
How many pilings, Justin?
We have 365 pilots on the job. So they think they can drive 50 a day or
50
so
a day.
is a good day. So we're thinking it's going to be 7 to 10 days for them to drive all of it. We're hoping that once we get the test results back, they can have a good week of time before school starts. So hopefully they have a good, 5 to 7 days where they can get a lot of it done. And then these rates would only apply to any per pile that's left over at the end. And we also, in this, we do have a credit because we had done some redesign in VE, changed the type of pile. So there's $7,000 out there that we're going to be able to apply against whatever costs that they incur here from that. So that'll help out as well.
This is not to exceed price.
can we do public comment first? And
Sure.
then do board comment so that we stay online? So first off, thank you very much. Is there any public comment on this item? Okay, now we'll go ahead and do board comment. Mr. Henry?
I'm not an architect, I'm far from it. But if they're not able to do the pilings now because of the rain, are they getting paid and we still have to pay them overtime?
Well, it's not because of the rain, it's because of the FEMA delay in getting them the clearance to do the.
So are they getting paid now?
I mean, they're getting paid the original sum to, do the piling.
But they're not driving pilings in because of the rain, right? Or because of FEMA?
Yeah.
So why do we have to pay overtime if they're not working now?
So, Mr. Henry, it's a good point, and
Yeah, it
I'm
is.
not all in favor of getting Justin off the hook just yet, but
Yeah, because the city got $500 in architectural fees too.
Right.
if you pull up the actual document, right, it clarifies some of your questions. What they're attempting to do is have pre-approval of an additional cost of $45 per pilot for every pilot that they have to put in the hours between 4 and 8 p.m. because of the unusual work time, and they're going to have to pay their people overtime. This is not a cost that's being borne by the district now. The $28,000 number is a worst case scenario if every piling has to be driven in between 4 and 8 p.m. during these unusual work times. And so the $28,000 cost is only the overtime cost in addition to the original cost that we would bear once the work is done. We're not paying the contractor for the work not being done now. This is a $28,000 run over because of the unusual hours, and it's broken down
Yeah, I see it.
per pilot, right? So he's saying, look, for every piling I've got to do afterwards, I can do 50 a day. I need an additional 40 hours because I'm going to pay my pile driver more money to work between 4 and 8 than I would between 8 and 12. Justin, I hope I explained that.
No, that's perfect. That's exactly
I've been
right.
kind of in the middle of this myself.
Because the contract-
It is a mess.
Ideally, the plan was to have it all done before school started
The
and it
contract
just,
we negotiated was within a certain time parameter.
He bid on it, saying that I'm going to do this during these months, during these hours. And when you add constraints to that, no, you can't do it now. I need you to do it here. And whether it's between 4 and 8, there's going to be a contractor cost that he's going to ask us to bear. I'm sorry, Justin.
That's the perfect explanation of what's going on there.
Any other board comment?
I still don't know about the $500 architectural fees.
He just skimmed over that.
Well, I mean, you'll see what all the change orders we're submitting now, our fees are adjusted based on total contract costs. So you'll start seeing that on all of them, unfortunately. Yeah.
So I guess my question is, I understand we don't want to have a disruption during the school day, but I mean, have we at least let the people that live in the perimeter of the school, have we let them know that we're going to be doing this after hours and on the weekends so they can anticipate this?
we will,
Okay.
we will, when we get
Yeah, we wanna
closer
be
to
good
seeing
neighbors.
exactly what's gonna be involved in it.
Okay.
We will. And then we also have contingent in there, school starting and them having a meet and greet with the parents. We're not gonna be able
Right.
to drive pounds that night,
Right.
open house, so there's a couple of extra days also on top of this.
All right, thank you very much. Any further comment? If none, we'll go ahead and vote. That motion does carry. Thank you very much, Mr. Forte. Next, we are on 4. It is Casinos Goodwin Utley Engineers LLC, and that's Mr. Brandon Cortez. And item A is to receive a report from Brandon Cortez on the Thibodeau High School generator connection report. I'm sorry. Good evening.
Okay, so since the last meeting, we had our substantial completion walkthrough, so the contractor's basically done. They performed a load transfer test with their portable generator to ensure proper operation. So the contractor has completed all but some minor punch list items, basically tags on panels. So they have been given substantial completion, and the school is now ready to accept a portable generator in the case that it would be needed. Hopefully it's never needed, but we are better prepared now. So this will be my last report on this project.
Thank you very much. Any
Not that we don't want to
questions?
see, but it's good to get something.
Any questions from the board? Discussion? Right. So with that, item B is to consider a change order request for Thibodeau High School.
Recommended action is to accept the change order request to add 537 additional days to the contract at Thibodeau High School, excuse me, due to the equipment delays. It's just some bookkeeping to get the days worked out. No additional money, just days.
Can I get a motion? Motion by Ms. Bourgeois, second by Mr. Henry. Any public comment? Any board discussion? A lot of days.
I thought things had gotten better, but evidently.
They had, so this was a couple of years ago at this point, so I think we did at the worst possible time, supply chain COVID issues. But it did end up taking a lot more perspective.
Anybody else? If none, we'll go ahead and vote. And that motion carries. Item C, to receive a report from Brandon Cortez on the Central Lafourche High School generator replacement.
Right, so at Central Lafourche High School, this project is to replace a 60 kW generator at Central. So this generator only serves the emergency lighting, fire alarm, cooler freezer, and other critical loads. So the contractor was able to replace the automatic transfer switch last week and prepare the site to receive the generator. So the generator is still on track to be shipped in November of this year. And since they were able to install the ATS, over the summer, there should be no disruption during the school year.
Any board questions for Mr. Cortez? If not, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Number 5 is All South, Mr. Bob Bernard. An item is to receive a report from Bob Bernard with All South Consulting on Hurricane Ida damages. Mr. Bernard.
Hey, good evening.
Good evening.
All right. South Lafourche High School. So finishing up HVAC work at South Lafourche is about all that's left, other than Chair and ROTC, which I'll get to in a minute. So that's winding down. They did do the rigging for the stage, lighting, got that fixed. So that's all complete. Everything in the auditorium is now complete. Central Lafourche CM Washington. Work continues at Central Lafourche. Weather has been somewhat of an impact for the roof work. The contractor also is from Houston, Texas, and they got affected by the hurricane, so that affected them somewhat getting back. But they were there, I think, last week doing some temp repairs on the gym roof where we have some leaks. So, they're still around, but we need to get them back and finish up at least the low roof. They put up the scaffolding to get to the high roof, and that's where that superstructure is that needs work. So that work is going to start, and then they'll start working that high roof and get that completed. CM Washington waiting on shop drawings for the canopy. It's been somewhat of a delay. We're working with Cotton to try to expedite that. But that's the biggest part that remains at CM Washington. In various sites is they're pecking away at it. A lot of small projects. The biggest one is at Lockport Lower. They have canopy work and some sidewalk work that needs to be done. Again, waiting on shop drawings for the canopy for that project. South Lafourche High School Chair ROTC. Demolition is complete, as we know. Daniel's working on contract documents. We're still waiting on EHP approval for the start of that building. You heard about that for St. Charles. We have issues with, delays with EHP, getting things done and submitted back to us for approval. Same thing with the athletic fields. This is a little twofold. We're going back and forth with FEMA on cost. We have some disagreements on what we think it should cost to rebuild the structures as opposed to what they're coming up with. So we're trying to work through, yeah, those elements, right? So there's some back and forth going on with that. But we are making progress, so it's moving along. Little Middle, Building 3-6, pretty much on hold. The domain is ready to put this out, but we have some issues. We got to get the roof finished. We also have some environmental concerns on this one also. EHP has to look at a few things. So this is going to be held up pending EHP review and what happens with the roof. But they're sitting ready to put this out to bid. The part with EHP that really kind of threw us a curveball is because the site, the new building site is going to require a surcharge, which they have to bring dirt fill in and let it sit for about 3 months. It's because we're going up about 4.5 foot to finish floor. So to get consolidation and compaction of the existing, they bring in what's called a surcharge, bring in a bunch of dirt, let it sit, and then they can start building. Well, that moved the calendar up for us to start construction, right? We were going to start after the first of the year, but because of that 3 months, we're trying to push to get that done earlier. In doing so, that means we have to wait for EHP. So it's kind of a cat and mouse game, back and forth. So they're ready, but we have them on hold. Bayou Buff Elementary, similar situation. We have EHP approval for the demolitions, but not quite yet for the phase 1 site package. So again, it's kind of working back and forth with designer to give us information to give to FEMA, so FEMA can make a decision and give us clearance on the EHP side. Any questions? Yes, sir.
This, I know you said you're working with FEMA on the athletic fields. Are you talking about like the concession stands at the baseball field and things of that? Or press box and stuff? Okay.
So we have the 3 structures. We have the girls' concession stand, which they acknowledged. They're going to give us some funding for that. Obviously, the 2-story press box at the baseball field is concession press box at South Lafourche baseball field. That was, I think, a no-brainer. And then Central Lafourche had the press box behind the bleachers.
Back to the Golden Meadow Middle new building project concept. So the new building that we're talking about is not going to be on the same footprint as the one that we're still waiting for FEMA to determine.
That's correct.
So theoretically, that process is to begin without regard to the final determination from FEMA on the 2-story annex. Is that
That's
correct?
Okay. That is correct. The problem is that the EHP part of it.
Right.
The funding side, we're going to continue to go back and forth with them on the funding element and agree or disagree, and then go back and forth on that, similar to what we're doing at Bayou Buff.
Yeah.
We're close at Bayou Buff. Go to Middle. We're still working the details with designer to get that information to FEMA as far as the funding part of it. What are they going to give us in relationship to building 3-6? Yeah. Going back to the press boxes, and the reason why there's a discrepancy, just real quick, is because of what FEMA didn't take into account is the code and standard upgrades. It's in a wind zone, flood zone, so that drives a cost. So they look at this like, when you're building, not here. So it's a big miss. So we have the designer gave his rebuttal letter explaining why the cost is what it is. And we all know it's high. We all were sticker shock when we saw it, but there's a reason for that. So.
Sounds like they're chasing their tail. I mean, they've established this new FEMA 2.0 flood standard, yet they're not accounting for that in their cost projection.
And just like the delay in the story, causing more money to be spent, and they're going to possibly pay for that, so they're causing their own troubles and money.
Yes. And look, they hit us last minute with another one on social justice, economic development. And we had to, demonstrate to them that the funds that we're taking from these other schools would impact them adversely. Which I understand, I get, but they could have accessed that 6 months ago, right? And it held it up even, another week before we could do pilot project. One other thing that's probably gonna come up, I'm assuming will come up, is, general conditions from the contractor. We didn't discuss that tonight, but because the schedule's delayed at least a month, that's gonna push everything back a month, which is gonna push the contractor's completion date further back. So he is due by contract, general conditions. Again, that's something that FEMA should cover. We're going to present that to them as an eligible expense. Okay?
Any further comments or questions from Mr. Benoit?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That moves us on to number 6, which is new business. And item A is to receive a report from lead accountant Shasta Chasson in reference to ongoing project budgets. Chasson?
Good evening. Our major construction fund has 2 bond referendums. The 2017 bond has a total referendum of $19.4 million. The total budgets for these projects are $19.4 million. Actual spent to date with encumbrances total $17.8 million. All funds are obligated. The 21 bond has a total referendum of $51.2 million. The budgets for these projects are $51.2 million. Actual spent to date with encumbrances total $40.4 million. All funds are obligated.
Any questions from Ms. Chasson? Thank you very much. Item B, to consider a request from the Thibodeau Lions Club to waive the fees for the use of the football turf field at Thibodeau High School.
The recommended action is to accept the request from Thibodeau Lions Club to waive the fee for 3 years for use of the football turf field at Thibodeau High School. The requester would be responsible for a $300 damage deposit and custodian fee. And I have a message from Jared Rowe that says they're not fully approved. They're waiting on a name change on the insurance certificate. They're actively working with Ms. Carmel Rowe, but it will be completed prior to use of the field for their insurance.
Can I get a motion? Motion by Mr. Henry, second by Ms. Bourgeois.
Just want to say thank y'all. If y'all wait for the excess school money we can get back to our schools. We've given $55,000, $60,000 in the last 10 years directly back to the schools, so we don't have to pay a fee. More money we can put in our pocket. We appreciate the effort and we look forward to working with you as always.
Can you go ahead and please state your name for us?
David Miller, I'm sorry.
I know you were with the item, but I just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure we had your name for the record as well.
Good.
All right.
Thank y'all. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so do I have any public comment? Any board discussion? Okay. And so this is with the contingency that the name is fixed and everything before the game, like that's well stated before they use the field.
What exactly are they, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
It doesn't state, what are they gonna use the field
It's the
for?
jamboree.
This is our annual middle school jamboree.
Oh,
In fact,
okay.
this has been every year.
I didn't know what.
Number of
If the
years.
Lions
That's why
Club
we're
wanna use
asking
the-
for 3 years.
And the funds
Yeah.
are split between all participating middle schools in our
Very good
district, right?
program set
Yeah.
up to help out everybody.
Okay, all right, I just didn't know what it was for.
Yes, ma'am, sorry.
All right, any other questions, any other comments? If not, we can go ahead and vote. And that motion does carry. Item C, to receive a report on bids for hunting and fishing privileges on section 16, township 19 south, range 20 east.
The recommended action is to accept the high bid in the amount of $2,601 annually from Brandy Matern for hunting and fishing privileges on section 16, township 19 south, range 20 east.
I have a motion by Mr. Henry and a second by Ms. Bourgeois. Any public comment? Any board discussion?
Is this a yearly lease or?
It says annually. Anyone else? Let's vote. and that motion does carry. Item D, to consider a change order request for Hurricane Ida repairs at Cutoff Elementary School.
Yes, the recommended action is to accept the change order request in the sum of $13,422.38 to amend the architectural fees at Cutoff Elementary School.
A motion by Ms. Bourgeois and a second by Ms. Lafont. Any public comment? Board discussion?
Would just like a better breakdown on the fee. That's me, is it 13,000 for the whole project, or is it for a couple of things, or it's I'm not saying I would vote, I'm against I just,
Yeah,
all we
there's
have
no
is
breakdown.
13,000, but there's no breakdown.
Justin?
I'll try to help explain.
Yeah, it's for the course of the whole project. I believe that project came in a lot higher than what we were billing on initially, and because the fees, our fees are directly tied to what the contractor's fees are for the project. They went up, and I believe there was something to do with accounting in y'all's system. We have to start requesting any increases. So that's why we submitted this information to have our fees adjusted based on the contract. And it is for the whole project. It's not like a bunch of little things, but if we need to be more, elaborate more in the document, we can do that.
In the future, if y'all can maybe give us just a little bit more information, because even when you open the document, it only says the contract, the document itself in here, it says for compensation amend in additional, but it doesn't give us any information on where it's going to or what it's for. So if in the future y'all could be a little bit more specific and give us a little bit more meat on that, it would be
So
very
Just
helpful.
throw it in there. You could,
So in the
you
future,
could just put the architectural contract.
Going,
Yeah.
right. Going back to B on item 3, where we have the architect's fee in there, right? Going forward, we're gonna bring these fees with the change order. So the previous change orders that we've done in the year and a half this project has been going on has just been for the change order each time, never the architect's fee.
I understand. I
So,
just think it's something that
Going
we're.
forward, we're gonna keep them together at the same time, so you'll get the change order and the fee increase at the same time.
I understand. I just think it's very concerning if we're voting on something, but we have no idea exactly where it's going to. We just want to be fiscally responsible and make sure that we're voting for things, and we want to know where it's going, that's all. So maybe just if we could have a little bit more information, it would be.
And again, I'm not trying to cause problems. I know it sounds like it today, but are your fees tied to what the contractor costs are, or are you saying that because of the change orders, you're doing additional work and that's why you want it?
a combination of both. So when our fees are a percentage of what the total construction cost is of the project. So when we start doing change orders to add things for contracts, that starts bringing that cost up. So whenever we do that, our fees get readjusted based on that percentage for the additional cost for the change orders, because that does involve more work on our firm's part to help process change orders or do the design work necessary for those to go through. So that's why.
So with that being said, I do agree with you. When we doing the change orders and we're seeing them with the change orders in the future, that will be much, much easier to understand. So this is basically catching us up from the things that we did the change orders for already.
Correct.
That makes sense. Okay.
Right. Some accounting cleanup for Ms. Chastity. She's got all the change orders added in there. We need to add in the additional fees. And it's on an architectural scale, pay scale that the state prescribes on his percentage that he's able to charge and everything else.
I think even if it would have said in relation to change orders, like maybe a little bit more information about what jobs we were looking at, that might have been a little bit easier to understand as well. But I think it's just the fact that we want to understand what we're looking at before we just, yes, rubber stamping things.
That's perfectly fine. I'll work with
We'll add
John
some
and
more
Ashley.
detail.
Get that
Thank you.
worked out
We
for y'all.
appreciate it.
No problem. Thank y'all.
All right, any further board discussion? Okay, if not, we'll go ahead and we'll vote. Mr. Henry did not get his window.
Oh, wait, I didn't go back to the agenda, I'm sorry.
Go, Mr. Henry's on a roll tonight. Okay.
I just.
Abstain.
Abstain.
Okay.
I didn't vote no, I just abstained.
Okay.
With an abstain vote, normally you have to state a reason for abstaining.
Because I didn't think it was explained well enough in the document that they gave us. That's the only reason.
It's fine,
Yeah.
but you have to be consistent, so if you abstain, you have to give a reason.
No,
That's
I don't
all.
mind, I just thought it should have been better explained to us in the document.
Absolutely, no problem. So item E says to accept a change order request for various IDA repairs and a credit of $271,424 to the contract at South Lafourche High School. I'm sure you would like to tell us about this.
The recommended action is to accept the change order request for various Hurricane Ida repairs for a credit of $271,424 to the contract at South Lafourche High School.
I'm gonna go ahead and motion this one, and I need a second by Ms. Bourgeois. Right, any public comment? Board discussion?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
If we're getting a credit of 271,000, does the architecture fees go down too?
The answer is no.
Oh,
Really?
Come on down. Join us for this party, come on. Come on down.
So these were, our contract, our fees are not reduced by, because we've designed it, we've put it into the project, we've gone through the end of the project, and we've got ads and deducts and whatnot. So our fees are not credited against a change deduct. So it's the way the state of Louisiana does it. It's the way, that's the way the IA contract is read. It's done.
if they go up, when we do a change to go up.
Because we do more work to make it go, like,
So it's
so we
extra
designed
work.
it and we put it out on the market, and then we reduce some things. But if we have to do additional design work to add to the project, then that's why the fee goes up in accordance with
So you're
that.
doing the work. for
We're
the
doing the
extra
work to
fee.
get the extra fee.
And the
So, for
original contract
instance-
is on, we expect you to do the work.
So for instance, as part of this credit, there's a $119,000 add to the project. So there's, and John, I don't have the paperwork in front of me, but there was like a,
I have it. It says that it was I think I'm looking at the right thing. The PC 065 ad was $133,866, and it says credit unit price reconciliation is $405,310, which gave a wash of a credit of $271,424.
so the add portion of that, the $100 and something thousand add to the project, there are additional fees associated to that add. So, and it was for, and just a long story short, but we did air conditioning design work. The air conditioning project got canceled, so we added it into this project. So we only billed for the construction administration side of that because we were paid on the other side of the fence for the design work on the other side. So the completion of the work is going to happen in the Thompson construction contract. So we're just billing for the C8 portion, which is the last 25% of the design fee.
It says there will be a change in professional services. That's what you're
Yes.
talking about? The professional services
Yes.
change that you're talking about is $3,317. It says C8 only. So
Yes.
that's the ad that you're
That's
talking
correct. That's a $3,000 add to a $119,000 add.
Question for
about. Yeah, go ahead.
the credit unit price reconciliation is what it's worded. Does that mean that material costs came in lower than what was
So we had-
originally projected?
So when we put the project out, we had a list of unit prices. Because at the time, I mean, when they start demoing ceilings, we gave them a quantity of ceilings to take out. Had they exceeded that amount, and you can look at the unit pricing, so they exceeded some of the unit prices, like if we told them that you needed to take out 10,000 square feet of ceiling, and they bid on a unit price at, let's just say $2 for easy math.
So that's $20,000 of unit pricing in the contract. So if they exceed the 10,000 square feet, if they get to 15,000 square feet, then they bill extra to that. But if they only, and had they only taken out 8,000 square feet, then it would have been a reduction in fee. So it's particularly with renovation projects, sometimes you don't know what you're gonna find when you start tearing stuff out. Tearing out floors, that you might have to patch the floors, or you might have to do some things that you can't anticipate, so we include it as a unit price. So basically, they were able to go tear out all the floors, tear out all the ceilings, and in the end, they didn't have to do as much work as we thought they might have. So we took that back as a credit.
I think that the accompanying document was good too, because it kind of gave us an idea and a breakdown, so you kind of see what was going on.
And like Mr. Sherman said, I mean, we're gonna share those things from now on. Like if there's an add or change, we're gonna have the architectural fee and the adjustment in the architectural fee that goes with that change. So
I think that'll be.
I haven't even done mine yet for South Push High School, for instance, so I gotta go back through the whole project. Because this is first month or second month that we've done that, so I gotta go back through the whole project and come back to you with a potential adjustment in fee based on all the things. I mean, if you look at my report, I mean, we had 47 different changes to the job over the time.
We'll make sure to bring a breakdown for Mr. Henry.
Yeah, so the 200.
And we can, and that would be easy enough.
1,000
Because
credit
we
may
can
go
list
back to the.
each potential change order that, I mean, we come to the board every time and say there's a change order of $3,000 or $5,000 or credit or whatever. So we're gonna go through all of that, and not all of it's an add to the architectural fee. It just depends on what work we were having to do it. Sometimes we don't charge a fee, just because like there's something simple that we didn't have to do any documentation for it or any design work for it. We don't bill toward it. So,
I think it just caught us off guard because it was different. But in the future, since we know what to expect, I think it'll be a lot better for everyone. All right. Does anyone, was there any public comment? I'm not really sure if I asked public comment. Was there any public comment? I did ask already. Okay, good. Any other board discussion?
Thanks for the explanation.
Yeah, we do appreciate it.
always happy to oblige.
All right. If no further discussion on that item, we can go ahead and vote.
Yes.
That was the easy one.
Yes.
Okay, and that motion does carry. Thank you very much. Okay, that's all of the business we have for tonight, so meeting is adjourned.